I hope you're doing well. I think it's interesting. We'll be studying in Psalm 8 tonight in service. You can pick it up. It'll be the Wednesday night, last Wednesday's service. But we're looking at the fact, it's a very interesting quote here in verse 2. It says, "The mouth of infants and nursing babes, you've established strength." Jesus in Matthew chapter 21:16 mentioned this when the children were praising him, but the scribes and Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, thought that was a little out of place, and he said, "Out of the mouth of babes you perfected praise." That's interesting, that children seem to get it. There's many things that we could say in terms of a childlike faith. Jesus was very clear in Matthew chapter 18 and verse 1 through 6 that, look, you have to be converted. Literally, you have to change or turn around and be like a little child to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Meaning that you have to see things on a much more simplistic level. It really isn't as complex as we want to make it. I read an article in the Epic Times recently speaking of the Hubble telescope and the many things that they're seeing throughout the universe and universes beyond universe, just massive, incredible things that they're learning, and still they've come back to the point that they don't understand any of it. They have this thing called dark matter. They don't even know what it is. That there's an order even though they can't explain how it operates. They don't. When it all comes back, they have to come back to this one basic premise that they can't figure it out. Now, the Bible's pretty clear in Colossians 1:17 and on that Jesus Christ is the one that holds everything together, that it was through his word that it all came to be, his very being, in John 1 and verse 1 and 2. So, I mean, that's a simple explanation, but perhaps the simple is the complex here. Maybe we stumble over simplicity. Children seem to be able to pick it up. They look at life with awe. We look at life through a whole nother screen. I think it's interesting that God literally established strength there, that it was children that would be the means by which he would establish strength. They would get in a way that we wouldn't. Interesting commentary, a Jewish commentary called Tehillim, and that didn't sound Tehillim, not to, but Tehillim. Just to get it right. I don't want you to misinterpret or mishear me. He said, look, it's intelligible even to babes. The recognition of God, it's not a supernatural mystery, it says, to be fathomed only in the far-flung zones of outer space. It's a reality which proclaims itself in every small spot on earth. It's intelligible even to babes, even if the name of God would be erased from earth and expunged from all the books of an arrogant, erring human science. Still, every pure new soul born into the world, uncorrupted, would on its own sense and notice God everywhere. Think about it. We have to educate ourselves out of that relationship, that awe, the splendor of the world around us, the God that made everything. We have to be educated out of that. In this way, the babes are the bedrock foundation of permanently establishing God's name on the earth forever. I think it's interesting. And Jesus said you have to be converted. He said, look, suffer these little ones to come unto me, and don't you forget. Don't forbid them. In Matthew 19:13 and 14. Why? Why do we have to be like this? Because the world and our nature, in trying to understand the world that we live in, given that mindset to be able to create and do as God gave us that ability, we tend to place ourselves on par with God, do we not? Proclaim ourselves to be equal. Isn't that what the temptation was all about in Genesis 3? And in so doing, we take the very simple beauty of God and we make it complex by looking at all the various portions or parts of this world and all the things that we as human beings do and all the complexity of relationships. What would happen if we just turned back to the very simple principle that Jesus Christ is in everything? Good, bad, and indifferent. You say, well, there's horrible things that happen. As we quoted earlier this week, a man named Viktor Frankl, a Jewish believer, not a Christian, but a Jew who believed in a monotheistic God of the Old Testament, decided that he would not let what happened, what other people did to him, be greater than his own personal relationship as the dignity of himself as a human being. And it saved him in the midst of great adversity. How much more so for us as believers who have the very Spirit of Jesus Christ living within us in Romans 8 and verse 9 and on. That we would have this sense of purpose, a sense of dignity, a realistic sense that there's great value in the things that we go through and all that we experience, because Christ himself now has given us authority, dignity, the ability to rule, to reign, to express his purpose. I'll close with this. What happened to Paul, or Saul of Tarsus, on the road to Damascus? It's described in Acts chapter 9 and then again in Acts chapter 26. What were the first words out of his mouth when he got knocked off his horse? Who are you, Lord? In other words, I'm no longer in charge here. I thought I was serving God, but now I realize there's someone very personal, higher than me, and this is the one who I will recognize. And guess what? He has a purpose for me. He's going to send me out to the Gentiles. He's going to teach me the things that I need to know. He's going to give me the power and the strength to go and to do, even when I suffer. And I'll suffer greatly. You'll suffer many things, it says, for my name's sake. But he gives me the ability. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that life is meaningless. And how frustrating if, as a Christian, all we have is what we can put our fingers on, or what we think we can achieve. And we don't entrust ourselves by faith to the God who wants to use us as a tool, an instrument of his very righteous purpose on this earth. Isn't that what Romans 6 and verse 13 and 14 talks about, that we become his servant for his purpose, a servant of righteousness? I hope so. Got a lot to look forward to. We got a lot to show to other people. Not what we went through, but who we went through it with. Till next time, friends, God bless you.